Here's a bit of a challenge for you. Can you list the number of contenders in the compact crossover / SUV category in one breath without passing out? Well, let's give it a try. There's the Ford EcoSport, Nissan Juke, Renault Duster, Renault Captur, Mazda CX-3, Kia Soul, Honda HR-V, Peugeot 2008, Jeep Renegade, Suzuki Vitara, Suzuki SX4, Fiat 500X, Opel Mokka, SsangYong Corando, Subaru XV, Mitsubishi ASX and Toyota CHR. That's a lot of offerings. And this is just one tier of the genre. We cannot forget the more premium enclaves, in addition to the larger vehicles designed to pander to these sensibilities. Well, this burgeoning end of the market has just gained another offering. Say hello to the Hyundai Creta. Creta? Peter? No, wait, sorry, Creta. Say hello to the Hyundai Creta. Well, at least the strange name will get people talking, if a little tongue-tied. And here's a fun fact for you. In the Dominican Republic, they had to sell it under another name because Creta is used to describe, shall we say, certain bits below the belt. But perhaps the model has a little more depth to offer than an odd title. Let's find out. So we're not going to bore you by rehashing the manufacturer's marketing spiel. In a nutshell, Hyundai wants a piece of the compact crossover pie mentioned earlier, and these aspirations are thrust on the new Creta. It looks like a baby Tucson, which is certainly not a bad thing. Hyundai's aesthetic identity has been strongly cemented since they adopted the fluidic sculpture design philosophy way back in 2010. And to illustrate just how far they've come, here's a picture of a first-generation accent on screen for your grimacing pleasure. The cabin template mirrors that of the larger Tucson as well, with a nice symmetry to things. But let's look for shortcomings as well. This interface seems outmoded when compared to certain peers, and this digital clock is a bit 1990s. And in keeping with the 1990s theme, the rear center passenger gets a lap belt rather than the 3-point variety we're used to in 2017. Although there is an abundance of nooks and crannies and cup holders in which to store stuff, which is always handy. The plastics used throughout the cabin are inoffensive, although they do err on the hard side, and standard kit is nothing to write home about. We're disappointed by the omission of items like cruise control in this range-topping model, which comes at a price, but we'll get to that later. The Creta is based on proven underpinnings. It shares a similar architecture to the one you'll find in the i30 hatchback. Ride plushness is good, but my biggest point of criticism is the steering. It feels vague and then it weighs up unnaturally. It's just a mishmash of unsavory sensations. Slightly unnerving. Now, I know it sounds daft talking about steering feedback in this car. I mean, it's not performance oriented at all. But hey, all I want is something that inspires a little more confidence. Overall refinement though is pretty decent in a middle of the road appliance-like sort of way. Not bad. Ground clearance is pretty decent too, at 190mm, but for some perspective, a Renault Captur will give you 200mm, while a Mazda CX-3 will give you a paltry 160mm. A bit of a moot point since these cars are destined for the cityscapes, but nice to do your comparisons if tackling dirt roads is on the agenda. Now there are two engine choices. First up is a 1.6 litre petrol with 90 kilowatts and 154 newton meters of torque. You can have this with a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic transmission. Then you have a 1.6 litre turbocharged diesel with 96 kilowatts and 265 newton meters of torque. So of the two derivatives, which should you pick? Well, it's a no-brainer really. In this application, you want the torque of a diesel engine. But this derivative demands a bit of outlay, as we'll reveal in a bit. Time to talk about money. One gets the impression that Hyundai feels its newfound brand equity means it can comfortably charge more. This is not a budget manufacturer after all these days. And this idea, coupled with the economic vagaries that impact pricing, means the Creta is not particularly cheap when compared to some rivals. It costs between 319,900 Rand and 369,900 Rand. Now just bear in mind for a second that a good number of other contenders here start well below the 300,000 Rand mark. So has Hyundai missed the compact crossover boat with the new Creta? Yes. Is it remarkable enough to make up for this lateness? No.